¿Qué pasa, campeones? So welcome to Churros y Tácticas Podcast. It is Monday, the 11th of January, 2021, and myself and Kiyan Sobhani are here to discuss the Liga's action. Granada against Barca, where we saw once again a fantastic Messi reappear, and he's officially back, folks. He's back to maybe get Barca to at least push somewhat for a title race. Maybe that's a little bit too much to ask. Maybe for a Champions League title race. Whereas Real Madrid over in the north against Osasuna literally got cold feet, and we're not able to put any goals past Osasuna, despite Hazard being back in the starting 11 and already introduced the man, the founder of the podcast, here to go through it all is perhaps a disappointed Kiyan Sobhani. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, all things considered. How are you enjoying the snow? I guess you guys didn't get hit with the snow, did you?
We didn't get hit.
No,
cold though. Big disappointment on my son. He asked two things for Reyes, for Three Kings. He asked a bicycle and some snow. He got the bicycle,
good.
But he didn't get the snow. Everywhere else, it's absolute madness in Spain.
It is crazy watching the shitstorm from a Canadian perspective, because this is just everyday life for us. So desensitized to it, and when I see people get snow and freak out, I'm like, well, what did you expect? This is what it is. This is what our everyday life is like. But as I noted on the Managing Madrid podcast, is that you guys, because it's so rare for you, especially that kind of, like, I've seen snow in Madrid. I've walked in snow in Madrid. But that's not snow. That is that is like Canadian snow you guys got. And even we are sometimes ill prepared for it. I just thought my favorite clip of the whole snow thing was that somebody somehow was able to quickly form like a dog. Did you see that clip where there's like, it's like a dog sled where he has like six dogs carrying? How did he even like form that? That was impressive. That's got to be the greatest thing that's come out of this.
He must have been like an Alaska native that lives in Madrid or something like that.
That has just a stash of like huskies like in his house and a sled just in case. He was waiting his whole life for that moment. Incredible. I also enjoyed the snowball fight in I think it was somewhere in Madrid, Plaza del Sol maybe, that broke out. That was kind of cool too. That's cool. It's good.
I saw a video of the Getafe players pushing a car out of the snow. I saw that. That was pretty funny too.
Did you see Yannick Carrasco roll up in a Fiat Panda to training today? He like borrowed it from his friend because apparently it's like his friend was like, "This drives well in the snow. Take this to training." Well, that was a moment.
Not a good idea.
Apparently he got there safely, so that's all that matters.
Fiat Panda's not good.
I don't know, but it looked kind of funny. So
now it wasn't, of course, good for some of the. There were a lot of talking points. I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but with regards to the bad weather, the snowy weather, I'm in particular thinking about actually the Barça Femení, the Barça women's team, who had to actually travel under very dangerous conditions. And Real Madrid, of course, I mean, there's a whole lot to say about, apparently this has been a debate. Again, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead of myself.
No.
I didn't really get the debate with regards to the quote-unquote, bad weather or supposedly the bad pitch in Osasuna. For me, for what I saw, I mean, I'd seen pitches in way worse conditions, and I didn't really understand the complaints so much with regards to that game actually going ahead and being played.
No, I don't think the complaint was about the pitch itself. Look, I'm sure the pitch wasn't perfect, but as you've mentioned, there are far worse pitches. As Cruz mentioned after the game, Osasuna played on the same pitch as us. So we have no excuses, and Zidane said after the game over and over again, no excuses, no excuses, no excuses. The complaints were not about the pitch. The complaints about, like, why did we have to travel in the first place? When we're on the runway for 4 hours, not knowing if the plane can take off, defrosting the thing, sitting there like sitting ducks, and then feeling unsafe about it, and then having to go there, and then not being able to also come back the same night. I believe they left this morning. They were able to finally fly back. So I think those were the complaints, that they felt that the game shouldn't have gone ahead. Now, there was also...
They had to stay one more night in a 5-star hotel, you mean? Poor guys.
I agree with you. I also think like that when we talk, I'd love to be stuck in Pamplona for a night in my hotel. That'd be cool. That'd be nice and cozy, nice and snug. City. But obviously they're not going to enjoy the city in any way. They're just. I'm sure they'd rather be sitting home. But I understand your sarcastic take. I agree with you. I think it's silly, but I do agree with them that the game shouldn't have been played. You know, like when Athletic can't. Really? Put it this way: when Athletic couldn't fly into Madrid to play that game at the Wanda, why can Real Madrid fly out the same day? Like what it wasn't ideal conditions, and Real Madrid Femenino's game also got postponed. Barcelona, you just mentioned, had to make a dangerous trip. Barcelona's Femenino team, and so it's not like ideal to play in this stuff. La Liga has come back and said, like, look, if you wanted this game to not go ahead, you could have requested that. But I just think that's a little bit of a lame cop-out. Like, to me, it's a systemic thing. It shouldn't have to do with, like, when you send your kids to go to school, you don't sit there like an idiot and call the school and be like, cancel the school. The school does it. That's a systemic thing. Like, so I don't care either way. Look, Real Madrid was just bad that day. No excuses. No excuses. But I don't think the game should have gone ahead either. So,
okay,
yeah, that's my take on it.
I'm glad to hear your side of it. Yeah, okay, and I agree for most part. I think and I don't know what the conditions were for Athletic to land in Madrid. I don't know what the conditions were at the time. Obviously Madrid has been all over the news, and we see just how bad it is, or what by bad I mean just how snowy it is, and how I guess incompetent really the airport is, Barajas is, and the city is as well when it comes to dealing with these situations, right? Mm-hmm. But it's something that a rare occurrence that every decade or so, Spain gets faced with, and then another 10 years pass before there's snow again in Spain, and it just catches everybody off guard. I bring that up because I don't know what the conditions were on the runways, but when I saw the condition on the field, I thought, God damn, I was like, respects to Osasuna for actually having cleared the pitch, because it looks all right. I mean, it doesn't look that bad. So I was kind of taken aback when I did hear some of the complaints, which I thought were more aimed at when it comes to Zizou. Zizou's statements were more aimed at for having played the game. I thought, again, he was referring more to the state of the pitch as opposed to actually having taken off from Barajas in the first place. My big takeaway, though, is, and I was very eager to get on this podcast with you, not because of the fact that, Barca are now 3 points behind Real Madrid in third. And look, man, let's be honest here. Giving a good impression and showing progress over the last few games and climbing up the league standings. But I was left more, I was anxious to get on this pod because I have a lot of questions for you. I have a lot of questions for you for this game based on what I saw, based on what I've been reading since then, because I want to know from, the most renowned international Madridista exactly if he agrees with the headlines that I'm reading. I mean, is this Real Madrid a team without talent and without a plan?
First of all, if I'm the most internationally renowned Madridista, then that's
come on, man.
That's bad news.
I gotta big you up, boy.
I
gotta big you up.
I appreciate that, but far from it. But
who is a renowned Real Madrid journalist like that focuses international again? Huh? I mean, there's not that many, Kiyan. You're in there.
I don't know.
You're the
Thomas Roncero, whatever his last name is.
Roncero. I said international. The emphasis was on international journalists.
I don't know.
It's you, baby. Go.
I want,
and again, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm reading a lot. It's funny when it comes to Real Madrid, right? Every time Zizou's up against the ropes, he produces a miracle. Madrid bounce back. They go through the Champions League knockout phases. They're back in La Liga. They close the gap. They win the derby, and they win a couple of games on the trot, pumping the euphoria in the fan base. And then the next time things go bad and you're reading about Hazard, talentless, beneath useless. Odegaard has never arrived. Asensio hasn't been good since before his injury. Valverde from last season. I mean, puto crack. This season he's disappeared. What's going on? What is going on? Is this a team with no talent, or is there no plan, or is it a combination of both?
Plan. But so someone had tweeted out a graphic about the best chance creators in La Liga this season, and it was a typical Messi's on his own level, in his own universe, in his own reality. He's just doing his own thing.
His worst season. Yeah,
he's so ultimately you just kind of need to have another chart that has just him, and then you have the mortals on a separate chart. But I thought immediately if this was tweeted out last season at this time, who would have been on his own level? Odegaard. That was Odegaard last season, and it's just crazy. So this, by the way, I just want to really quickly go back before we go too far away from the subject. I also, while I don't think the game should have gone ahead, I also think that some of the stuff that Zidane said was a bit crazy, and I thought he was a little bit of a. I was watching that press conference, and I thought he looked more aggravated than he's been in a long time. I think that probably had to do with a little bit of bad energy stemming from it's not fun sitting on a runway for 4 hours while your plane is being de-iced and you're like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to be here. So whatever was fueling that mindset he was in, but he also said that wasn't a football game. Come on, we're not playing in a volcano. We're just just first of all, half your team wasn't even wearing gloves and they're wearing short sleeves. So if it was that bad, you would at least dressed up a little bit. I think he was just a bit coming from a crazy place in that post-game press conference. But you know what the biggest concern I have, Diego? I know there's a lot of great points in what you just said. One, also that is a cycle. Real Madrid plays a few games good in a row and everything is okay, and now everyone comes out. We told you, Zidane, you got to trust Zidane. And then there's a few games that are uninspiring in a row against teams that aren't as good as you on paper. And then it's the other opposite camp that comes out. If I had to lean one way or the other, I'd lean towards the side that says Zidane just needs to have better plans and better ideas.
Right. Okay.
And I don't, the fact that Real Madrid plays better against good opponents, that's great. Ultimately, that's not going to win you league titles. And I think that the Odegaard thing, it does. A couple of weeks ago, I was asked about does this worry you that Odegaard's not playing? My answer was no, because he's been injured.
It was my question.
Right. Thank you. I honestly, people ask me questions. I don't remember who asked me the questions, but if you, I think my answer a couple of weeks ago was well, I'm not worried because he's been. Go ahead.
No, I said how much credit or how much time or how much time and patience, I guess, do you have with him, or are you willing to give him?
Right. Okay. But so you framed it in a different way. So it was somebody else who asked me that question, because your question was more framed are you worried about him? The other question I was referring to was are you worried that he's not playing? And I think my answer to you would have been, I'm not worried about him because he's good. He's a great player. I'm not worried about that side of things. The fact that he started slow was because, he actually played good in his limited time, but also because he got injured. So he kind of lost momentum from that perspective. But my question, the question of are you worried about Zidane not playing? And my answer also for that was no a couple weeks ago. But now it's I'm a little bit worried. I mean, the biggest problem I have with this, Diego, is that Zidane always says everyone is important. It's not a matter of this player is good or bad or whatever. Yeah. Everyone is important. That's always his political answer. Always. But the problem is that while everyone is important, aren't you worried that if you call on someone who plays once every 2 months, that they're just not going to perform, and it's not their fault? It's not their fault if they don't perform, because they have no rhythm. Yeah. And then you're going to outcast them for another couple of months, and you're going to say that he's important. Well, yeah, he's important, but at least treat him like an important player then.
Exactly.
How many games are you going to start Modric in a row? He's 85.
Yes, Kiyan. This is what I want to hear from you, Kiyan.
I love that you're just a cheerleader right now.
No, because I mean, I was waiting for you to kind of I guess, put down your fist and say enough is enough. Because if there's one thing clear to me at this point is that Zizou has been showing us that, you know what, he doesn't trust the new guard very much, and he prefers the more veteran and older player a whole lot more than these younger, inexperienced and talents that he has under his ranks, which again on paper are very exciting. You talk about Vinicius, Odegaard, you mentioned just now, Valverde as well, who last season, particularly in that first half of the season,
he was great.
Took us all by storm. And at the moment, you're seeing not a whole lot of rotations. He's using the same 10, 11 players, a lot more consistent than you would expect and you would hope for if you're a Madridista.
Jovic is the other one that, please send that dude on loan before he just evaporates into thin air and he just disappears. Because these kids need to play. That's the thing. If you're not going to play them, and it's nice to pat yourself in the back and say, well, we have depth. We're going to use them. They're all important. That's not depth. That's just those guys are just they're just in the cave. They're caged. They're not. That's not depth. That's not depth. So don't label it as important players. If you're not going to use them, they're not important. That's it. If you don't trust them, they're not important.
Do you know how many minutes Odegaard has played in the last 5 matches?
0?
5.
I honestly don't even remember those 5 minutes, really, to be honest, off the top of my head. The fact that he even just gets a 5-minute thing must have been just a substitution just to kind of time waste a little bit or delay the clock a little bit. Nothing significant.
It's crazy.
And he's been healthy.
The player that and he's been healthy. And you're talking about the player that was the leader of a very informed, exciting Real Sociedad, who also took, La Liga and Europe by storm last season. The most exciting, by that I mean they were one of the most exciting teams to watch in Europe last season. And he's the 6th choice central midfielder at this point? Would you say 6th? 5th, 6th?
I mean, it's hard to put that into kind of a solid depth chart kind of ranking, but Isco came in last game over Odegaard, and Isco was fine, and no issues in a way. But again, this was arguably the greatest creator, and from an analytical perspective, he was the greatest creator in the league for half the season last year until he got injured. So he needs to play. So that's there's no doubt.
So, what about another player I wanted to ask you about? Don't want to be opportunistic, or not too much at least. This was his first game back, or his first game as in the starting 11 since I think it was the end of November. Of course, he's been injured, and I'm talking about Eden Hazard. What are you? What are your expectations at this point? Can I go so far as to say, let me frame it this way. Looking at 3 players that came in over the summer of 2019, Joao Felix to Atletico, Griezmann to Barca, and Eden Hazard from Chelsea to Real Madrid. Of those 3, Eden Hazard by far the most disappointing or worst signing.
Of those 3, yeah. I mean, Joao Felix is a clear number 1. That's number 1, but
clear number 1.
Griezmann's actually contributed. I know it hasn't been like a runaway success with Griezmann, but he's been playing well now. I mean, he looks good right now. Does he not? He looks good, right?
He's looking good.
Looking good. He's looking more confident.
4-3-3 is doing good.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the biggest stumbling block for Hazard has been his health. If Hazard had Felix's health and Griezmann's health, then maybe he's 1 or 2. So just to be fair to him, he just hasn't been able to get rhythm, and
So you put it down to his injuries.
Yeah, I mean, I actually thought he was good against Osasuna. I mean, the whole team lacked the final product, but him and Asensio were the only 2 people doing anything offensively. They were actually dribbling past people, they were shooting. Everyone else, Benzema put up a dud. And we didn't really get contribution from our fullbacks in this game. So that was, and again, this is why Odegaard solves a lot of issues here, because he actually can do things and break lines and play that incisive pass and shoot and cut in and control and press, all that stuff he can do. So I have no issue with Hazard. Sometimes when he's
I think your bar is low.
My bar is low, for sure. There's no doubt my bar is low. I also think, like, I was writing in my column today, which I haven't released yet, but, like, with Hazard, it's just, we always say, like, oh, he's back, and then we get a few weeks of him, and then, like, by the third or fourth week, you kind of feel like he's getting back into it, and then he's gone again. And that was the Bale issue. And remember, like, when was it? That's this season where he scored from, like, 35 yards. He had a really nice shot. And everyone was like really excited because that's the kind of individual brilliance we need, because our offense stinks, and like at least he can like do things that no one else can do. And then we lost him again. I mean, that's an issue. And so going back full circle, this may or may not surprise you, but whether it does or not, it should at least worry you. That same chart I was talking about that was tweeted out with Messi in his own universe, the best Real Madrid creator, Lucas Vazquez. And that's who we're relying on right now.
Right.
Which is good because I'm fine. I like him, but that can't be your biggest weapon.
That can't be it. Yeah. I mean, you can't have. I read earlier today an article where they talk about the 200 and something million in talent Real Madrid have sitting on the bench or just not fulfilling expectations. That can't fall on the shoulders of Lucas Vazquez to pull that talent along and reach the team's objectives.
Yeah.
You mentioned before Madrid, and that's a really interesting point and an astute observation on your part as well, that they play a lot better against quote unquote better opposition. I'm going to rephrase that and say opposition that are higher up the league table. The reason being is because I was looking at a chart before hitting record where I noticed that of the bottom, so from Eibar down, so from 14 down, which you're looking at teams like Eibar, Alaves, Real Valladolid, Getafe, Elche, Osasuna, Huesca, now, with the exception of Getafe, because Madrid beat Getafe with a goal from Hazard, if I'm not mistaken, or
maybe that was the one I was thinking about. I can't remember.
Maybe that was the one. They've picked up 8 points of a possible, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 8 of 18 points against the bottom tier teams.
Yeah, that's
quite telling.
That's a bad sign.
Madrid just don't have an answer for teams that close themselves off well. Excuse me.
And you know what's funny? Like, to take that stat to another level, because you mentioned not big teams, but teams higher up the table. Atletico closed himself better than anyone in Europe, and Real Madrid beat them.
Right.
So I don't know if it's a mental thing or the occasion. Like, you look at Osasuna in this game, they weren't defending that well. I'm impressed with them because it's freaking Osasuna. And with all due respect to them, and Elche is another one.
They did what they had to do.
They did what they had to do. Elche, from an analytical point of view, dead last in every possible category a team can rank last in La Liga. Like, heading into that Real Madrid game, they made it really difficult for Real Madrid. And, oddly enough, Real Madrid looked way more comfortable against Atletico than they did against Elche. And so, and Osasuna, they defended okay. They defended well. I mean, let me be a bit more fair and more respectful. They defended so well that Real Madrid's XG was the lowest it's been since February of 2015. That's a good defensive team. You didn't see that? Oh, that stat blew my mind when I saw it. Because in my head, I had thought of like, okay, it can't be worse than. I thought of 2 games. One was against Alaves, one was against Getafe in the last couple of years. And I went and checked back on both those games. And those games from an offensive standpoint were still better than this one against Osasuna. But Osasuna also gave Real Madrid a lot of space. Like, Mendy and Vazquez and Asensio and Hazard, they had a lot of space to work with on the wings. And like nothing, they just couldn't take advantage of anything. And so if that's Atletico Madrid, I would almost bet that that's a better, they score if that's Atletico doing the same thing. So I don't know what's going on mentally with this team, but those are the games, man. Those are the games that just have not been good.
What's your I guess, hope for the season at this point? I often talk about our objective being qualifying in the top four. What is your realistic hope?
If this team finishes worse than
all competitions, so include Copa and Champions, everything. Sorry, dude.
Just the way that Real Madrid play in Copa, I don't think they're going to win Copa unless they start drawing like every big team possible and they take it seriously. I don't think they're going to win Copa. I'd love to win Copa. I don't think they're going to win Copa because they just don't.
Could save the season. Could save Zizou's season.
If Copa saves you the season, well, I don't know. But from a league perspective,
I remember Copa saving your season.
When? I honestly don't remember.
When Ramos dropped it off of the bus, you guys won Copa that year. It looked like you guys won the Champions League.
Was that the year we beat Barca in the final?
Us, yes.
Was that the Bale one? Bale versus Barca, that one?
Yes. Yes.
Well, we were actually good that season, though, in general. Like, it wasn't just the Copa win. Was that the Carlo Ancelotti season where they I think they went to the semifinals of the Champions League too, and they lost to the Morata goal. So they were good that season. It's not. I'm not.
No, that was Mourinho. Wasn't that Mourinho?
No.
That was Mourinho.
No. Mourinho was 2012. That was you're talking about the Ronaldo header in extra time. That's different than the Bale extra time. Yeah, you lost so many times to us in Copa finals. I don't blame you for. So this season they can't finish any. If they finish under second, I'd be disappointed. Like if you're asking them to finish first place in this season, where Atletico have 3 games in their hand and they're first place already, that's going to be hard to catch up on. Do you know by any chance like what the games in hand for Atletico are, like who they're playing against?
Are you putting me on the spot, or are you?
Well, I don't know the answer either, so I'm on the spot too.
Quickly. Okay. Well, hold on.
I'll try to find out, but bottom line is, if Atletico win those 3 games, I think it's that's a mountain that I don't think you can climb. Now, is it possible?
So they're playing Athletic, Sevilla, Eibar, Valencia, Cádiz, Celta, Granada, Levante, Chelsea, and then Real Madrid again.
But I'm more curious to know what those 3 specific games in hand are. Just
those 3 makeup games. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't really matter. We can just look at the overarching schedule. But if they win all 3 of those games, which, look, that's not inconceivable. Like some people have said, well, they may not win all those games, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. But we can also say they may win those games because they've been great this season. They have 1 loss all season. They've conceded 6 goals all season. That's insane. You know what the next best defense is after that? I think it's Sevilla with 13 goals. So there's a case for them to win all those games. And if they do, that is 47. That's a 10-point lead over Real Madrid if they win all those games. And that's assuming Real Madrid don't lose any games to fall further behind. So Real Madrid, I don't think are going to finish first this season. Possibly, I would love to be wrong about that, but I would be really upset if they drop below second. So, and then the Champions League, who knows? There's a lot of variables in the Champions League. So, at this point in the season, my expectation is something like second place and a solid run in the Champions League, which I would like to the process must be good. That's my bar. Definitely beat Atalanta, but beyond that, I don't know what happens. Depends on who they draw, I guess.
Yeah,
that right?
That seems about right. I mean, I would never, of course, discount Real Madrid for a Champions League win, regardless of how dire the situation is over in the Bernabeu. But for La Liga, it's it's been lights out for me. It's been an end of this season story, at least since quite a while, as I've been very open about on this podcast. So I was just more curious to know again your perspective on that. And you talk about if they don't fall further behind. I mean, I think that's a given. I mean, I think we will see Real Madrid and other teams fall further behind Atletico because I think more teams will adopt the strategy of the lower tier teams in La Liga and just close up, seeing just how much problems that causes Zizou's men, right? And that lack of ideas that you accused them of as well earlier it's just become so evident that I'm definitely expecting them to drop more points.
Yeah.
All I'm hoping is, to see if we can see Barca leapfrog them, which, given how they beat their opponents over the weekend, I think is possible.
So are you a bigger believer in Barca now than you were earlier in the season?
Hey, man, look, if this progress continues, this was, 4 goals against Granada before we beat Athletic Club. Athletic, of course, with Marcelino, who had just come in, are going through their fair share of trials and tribulations and trying to find themselves this season. But I think it's fair to say that these are good teams, and especially Granada at their own home ground. Putting 4 past them, I think, is nothing to snuff at. And you'll have to forgive me to feel a little bit optimistic for, seeing the progress. And again, last time we spoke ahead of this game, I said, that I don't know what to expect. Can Barca kind of build on this progress that we saw against Athletic Club? And I think they did against Granada. So, I'm at the moment, I'm feeling optimistic. I'm also feeling quite optimistic seeing how Koeman, I think, is, excuse me, the family just walked in, so excuse the screams, but
welcome.
Seeing that, I think he is rectifying and knowing how to make adjustments and learn from his mistakes, and it seems that the 4-3-3 formation is coming into fruition and being the go-to formation and plan that Koeman is adopting, and I think the results are quite astonishing and very clear for that matter. I think we're seeing the best Messi that we've seen all season. That goes without saying. Last time on the podcast, I mentioned joint Pichichi. Now we can definitively say he is the one and sole Pichichi for the moment, at least. That I'm sure he will continue to capitalize on. You talked about his stats and being in his own universe. And again, I mentioned in passing there, in his worst season, which is the case. We're seeing a Griezmann that is also coming into his own and feeling more comfortable, I guess, in the position that Koeman is giving him. We're continuing to see a Dembélé that is an important player on this team, very important, making a good impact and having the continuity as well that he needs in order to continue to have that important impact, something that we talked about before. Some of the players at Real Madrid, I think, need as well, because that is the fundamental thing, right? Players need minutes in order to get adjusted to their teammates, get to know their teammates, get to understand really the system and the things that the manager is asking from them. It's all good and well to put that into practice out on the training pitch, but when push comes to shove and it's the game and points are on the line, to just put a player in there, to throw him in there with 15 minutes left, that's not, you're not doing the player or yourself or the team, for that matter, any favors. So I'm just very happy to see Dembélé, getting that continuity that he wasn't under, for example, Valverde. Pedri, etc. I mean, De Jong as well continues to be monstrous. So I think if these players continue this progress and continue to have an important impact on under Koeman, then I think I can be optimistic that we could hopefully leapfrog Real Madrid. We're just 3 points behind at this point, and with the entire second half of the season still left to play for. So I'm gonna cross my fingers and hope.
Well, I think the process has been really good for Barcelona the last couple of games. Like one of the things that happened last couple of seasons before this one was when Barcelona would win, we would say, okay, they won, but it wasn't great. And it looked like this tells us that if this happens against a better team, it's going to be lights out. And it was against Bayern. But I think the last couple of games, we can actually talk about how it's looked good on the pitch. And what I think about Barcelona too is especially watching them play, when we're talking about Real Madrid and lack of ideas, I think Barcelona do well at creating opportunities through multiple channels. So they're getting productions from the wings, but they're also getting productions in the middle, centrally, going down central channels. Yeah. And I think it has to do with, one, that the Dembele's return has helped a lot. And even when Dembele doesn't get going, you can see his contributions. You can see what he does. You can see how he pulls defenders around. You can see that he can create things from multiple different channels through his individual brilliance, but also his initiatives. He's not shy on the pitch, which is a good sign. But the other one, and you can talk about, we already talked about Griezmann kind of growing into this a little bit. The other one to me is like Pedri has been like a revelation. I think he's just been so good at so many different things. And I just kind of like his versatility. Like he can play in a few different positions, and he always contributes. And the other one, Diego, was De Jong. I feel like is starting to be De Jong again,
sure.
And that's a big one because De Jong, like he can like sit in a deeper role, pick off passes, but he can also be in the right place at the right time to start attacks. And I think him coming alive of late has been huge for you guys.
Man, and you're talking about a workhorse as well. I mean, his ability to be, and again, something we touched upon last podcast, his ability to make his presence felt offensively, but also then all of a sudden you see him literally, tracking back, running back, and dispossessing a player, late in the game. That's something that we didn't see that much of him earlier or even last season for that matter, and it's such a welcomed aspect of his game in this case because I don't have these stats right now in front of me, but I would like to know who of Barca is the player that runs the most, the player that covers the most amount of kilometers, because I can almost guarantee that De Jong must be in the top two. He makes his presence felt all over the pitch, and it's great. It's like you said, it's the De Jong that we're used to seeing at Ajax and that we haven't seen that much at Barca until now.
I don't know about like kilometers run, but De Jong is number one in progressive distance with the ball at his feet, while controlling the ball at his feet, even more than Messi. He covers more ground with the ball at his feet. But I don't know what it is like off the ball and stuff. I don't know how. Not sure where you can get that to be measured. But I agree. I think he's been looking really good. I mean, and obviously the most obvious change has been just Messi being good and scoring again. I mean, he was always good, but he wasn't scoring. And now that he's scoring, I think that's lights out pretty much. Done.
You put out a tweet where you basically blamed Granada for, I think, that second goal.
They were terrible
referring to the
defensively,
not closing him down. That was a hint of irony in that, right?
No, like what? Like I just saw that happen the whole way. Like, was it? I think it was.
The man had like three players around him.
No, listen. Look at the run up to that goal. Griezmann, like he's the one carrying the ball. And the whole time when Griezmann has it, like you just know that it's going to Messi.
I see.
And I just feel like they didn't even try to stop that ball going to Messi. And then when Messi gets it, I just think it's too late for them to close it down. That's what I was getting at.
Right. Okay. I'll go with you on that one. I'll go with you on that. Because that whole time as well, I was screaming. I'm like, pass the ball to Messi, pass it to Messi. Because Messi was wide open for a long time. And then when he finally did get the ball, I was like, well, now he's got, I'm like, I just saw three Granada players trying to close him down. And when that shot hit the back of the net, it was orgasmic. But and then later I saw your tweet. I was going, what is this guy talking about? How's Kiyan gonna wind me up like this?
What was the other one?
But okay,
What was the other tweet?
Other one? What?
There was another.
No, this tweet.
Oh, that was it.
No, just that one.
The fourth goal was really nice too. Like the first goal was that was the weird where Soldado basically passes it to Griezmann. I think it was Griezmann, right?
Yes.
And then they were complaining about it. But like, okay, you passed it to him. It's your fault. But the fourth goal was really nice. I really enjoyed Dembele's pass into the box to Griezmann, whose control and finish was also really good. But yeah, what were you going to say about the first goal?
No, that obviously I saw a whole bunch of tweets with regards to the handball and the pass backwards. Now, just to clarify, because I didn't know the rule book inside out neither, so I had to look this up. So with regards to that initial goal, the Griezmann golazo, it was deflected, but basically the Granada player I think it's Puertas, right? Not Soldado.
Oh, I don't know. For some reason, I thought it was Soldado, but maybe you're right.
So it comes down to basically, is it a rebote? So is it a deflection or is it a bad clearance? And apparently, and I haven't seen this footage, but this is what I heard being discussed on the radio as well. You hear the referee discuss it with the player, and the player admits that it was un mal despeje. So he actually talks about it being a bad clearance.
Yeah.
And the referee in that case goes, well, then it's a valid goal because that's on you. That's your fault, basically. Had the ball ricocheted off of let's say the hip or something and gone to Griezmann, in that case it would have been ruled offside, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty clear upon the replay, because at first I was kind of shocked. I was like, oh well, that's going to be recalled for sure, but then you realize that no, it's like it was basically a Granada assist. That's what it was. Therefore it stood. Yeah. Anything else from Barca that stood out to you, bad or good?
Not too much. I know the majority of our listeners are Madridistas, so I don't want to, be jumping up and down here neither. After, at this point in the season,
jump up and down. It's good. It's good ratings.
Prolong the suffering. Nah, I don't know. I'm just happy to that everybody's healthy as well. I have here. I'm just glancing over my notes. I thought there was a big scare at some point when both Umtiti and Dest were down, and I thought KO and out for sure, but both managed to pick themselves up and dust off their knees and whatever was injured or whatever was knocks they gotten.
Dest has been a little bit in a rough patch.
Dest, he's having a rough one. Yeah. It's. I feel though that, given the solid performances as well from Pedri and Dembele, that a lot of that action is coming from from the left hand side. So, but give it time, man. I'm not even going to start to try to criticize Dest at this point. So I'm not going to go. If you have any criticisms or areas where you think he can improve, I think it's just a matter of time, of minutes. Luckily, Koeman, it's not that he has a lot of options anyway, but he continues to field them out there out on the pitch and play with his teammates. And I think eventually he'll come into his own because, he's a very talented player. And we've seen him do that with Ajax. So I still have full confidence in my boy Dest.
I also haven't been that high on Mingueza, but I got to admit he's looked really good in this string too. I think he's looked good, and his on-ball ability is also pretty promising as well. It looks like Araujo is also, the injury is not as bad as initially thought either, right? So that's also good news for you guys. Yeah. When you look at La Liga this weekend that just passed, the defending from everyone was so bad, basically. Defending and bad giveaways in that Celta Villarreal game. That was about as bad as it gets from Celta in the scope of one half. And that the opening 10-20 minutes of Sevilla Real Sociedad was also ridiculous. And the own goal from Fernando was absurd. I watched that replay 3 million times and I still didn't understand.
Yeah. It was a Diego
sorry, Diego Carlos. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was an entertaining game though. And a beautiful goal by Diego Carlos for that matter. I mean, the way he lobbed his own keeper was quite astonishing. It kind of reminded me of Bussi's pass back to Ter Stegen as well. More power behind it, but massive 3 points for Enesiri. I mean, that hat trick and I think it was his second goal where he dribbles right through the heart of Real Sociedad's defense to score the 2-1.
Yeah,
was a thing of beauty, and Real Sociedad, man, just continuing to drop down that league table, huh? I guess reality, I should say, is kind of settling in.
Did you see Yunus Musa's run against Valladolid?
I did not.
So
something I need to pick up.
Yeah, you should look it up. I think if you it's probably just in the highlight package. But if you just search Yunus Musa on Twitter, you might see it. But it was basically Bale versus Bartra Copa del Rey final, But then at the last moment, he passes it to a wide open player who I don't even remember who that was now. And the player just doesn't score. Which lets Musa down a lot, because if that goes in and he gets the assist, that's going to be all over the internet. But he didn't get it. But it was worth just looking at the run. That guy's a talented player, man. I've enjoyed watching him in the limited time I've seen him. I've enjoyed it. That's all I got. Raptors ripped my heart out last night. Siakam missed the game-winning jumper against the Warriors, in and out.
No. What are your hopes for the Raptors this season, Kiyan?
They're 2-7. They're starting to wake up a little bit. The last 2 games, even though they lost last night, they've been looking better, and they're getting better versions of certain players. But I don't know. I guess probably they'll squeak into the playoffs.
Oh, it's that bad, huh?
It's not looking good right now. Yeah,
so, I mean,
they don't have
Raptors
depth.
Are just in full transition.
Yeah, they don't have depth. That's the problem. They have, after losing Gasol and Ibaka, they just lost size and depth, and those were 2 leaders too. So that's a big problem.
Gasol is, and neither Ibaka, I think, are having a massive impact though right now on their respective teams.
I think I haven't watched much of those Western Conference teams because the time zones, like, I'm usually just passed out by then. But I've heard Ibaka's playing well.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Gasol, the thing is, even if he does nothing, he's just an amazing defender and he's a good passer. So, like, I think they feed off of that. Again, the leadership, man. It's the leadership too. The experience, all that stuff matters.
It does. I need to get into. I need to find more time to watch NBA. It annoys me greatly that with the little time that I have, that I'm missing out on so much NBA action. Way too much for my
There's
life.
only so much you can do with the time zones, man. Because you work so much during the day that, like, by the time night, your body's like, put me to bed. I'm done. I need you fresh for tomorrow. So you just can't. Understandable. Unless you move here.
That's a plan.
Would you ever move out here?
Get me to
is that is that too unrealistic?
Kiyan, no joke. Before the pandemic hit, like the months leading up to it, almost maybe a year. I think it was January, February. It was a Sunday afternoon. I had off. I was sitting there with my laptop, and there was a banner, like a pop-up ad for Canadian visas. And jokingly, I kind of filled out my information, thinking, let's see what they kind of hit me back with, not really expecting anything. I click submit. Now, mind you, I'm talking about a Sunday afternoon, so it must have been Sunday morning over in Canada. I click submit. Not even 5 minutes later, my phone starts ringing with a very strange international number. I pick up, I go, hello? And they go, hi. Some very friendly young lady goes, hello, did you request more information about a visa to Canada? I go, holy shit. I mean, they must be desperate for people. And I kind of laughed. I was like, well, I mean, sort of. Like, I didn't even know what to, it just caught me off guard. I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know if it was like a PDF with some information. I definitely wasn't expecting, to get called on my bluff, so to speak, and get a phone call right away and have an interview for a visa to go and work over in Canada. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, look, you never know. I've traveled. I've lived in 6-7 countries, and I'd definitely be open to a move to Canada. Why not? I've got good friends there, which you are one of them, by the way.
Well, that'd be awesome. I often, like, the amount of times I weigh, like, living here, living in Spain. I enjoy just being where I am, in the sense that it's a nice middle ground of kind of central, like, in the middle of where the places I want to be, because you get the benefit of just being around North America, all those big cities, when you want to just do a quick flight or just go to maybe for podcast purposes or preseason purposes. But also, it's a nice place to be. Like, I as much as, like, there's a lot of Canadian lifestyle things that I hate, one of them being is that you basically need to get into a car for everything. You can't always walk everything unless you live very, very central. But there are also a lot of nice things about living here, which is cool. If you ever moved here, we could form like maybe some kind of podcast like hub where we get together.
Nice.
And yeah, do it after the pandemic is over. You should just do it.
Okay.
Do it. Yeah,
I'll call that lady.
Plant some seeds.
All
yeah.
right.
And plus, the kids speak English, right? So you're good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is true. I'm open for
it. Anything else you want to discuss?
I think that's about it, man. I think we got to wrap this bad boy up and thank our listeners and our patrons for their loyalty. Please continue to listen to us. Please continue to subscribe. Please join us on Patreon as well, because I got to tell you, there is a difference in tone when it comes to our Monday pods and Friday pods. Wouldn't you say?
Yes. Yeah. A little bit more raw on Fridays. So
a little bit more. I almost get Kiyan to open up and to give us some political inputs as well from time to time. Not a lot, but a little bit. And yeah, it's the Friday pods are fun. A little bit more raw.
And this week we have Copa games, Super Copa games, that is. So we
Holy
have.
Shit.
Yeah, that's this week. So Real Madrid plays on Thursday. Do Barca play this Thursday?
On Wednesday. Yeah.
So Barca Sociedad on Wednesday. Barca Real Sociedad on Wednesday. I know people hate when you just say Sociedad. And then Real Madrid Athletic Club on Thursday. And then Churros on Friday. Over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. And only and exclusively on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. So if you like our work, support the show, get access to cool things. Yeah. Diego, this was fun, my friend. Always is.
That's it.
And we'll wrap here and chat Friday. Take care, buddy.
You too. Peace.